Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Mike Grevin coming to you from Chicago as usual, and this is so good. We got a double dip. Judge Middleton today. He had a guy show up today and refused to talk to him. And while I was trying to finish my depositions, the sovereign citizen rolls into 3B. It's too good. People told me about it. I couldn't resist. I've got problems. So I did another video on this guy, and I put a link to that in the description below. I put it parenthetically as "call me maybe number one," because well, that's what he's asking the judge to do here. Let's get it going.
We will address this matter, which is Charles Maybe McNulty. That's you, sir?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm new to this court proceeding. Your Honor, I will be glad to state my name if you can show me any presentments with my name on it for me to accept.
Close enough. I recognize you from before.
Close enough. Not really, but okay.
The charge here, sir, is that on or about July 2nd, that you did resist an obstructive police officer. The allegation is that in the village of Constantine on July 2nd, you did assault, batter, wound, resist, oppose, obstruct, or endanger Dan Fader, a police officer with the Constantine Police Department, knowing reason to believe he was a police officer. So the matter is set for today for a pre-exam conference. Or a prelim. We had a pre-exam conference. The prelim, and you've sat through several.
Watch this. He's sitting at counsel table. He's got his phone and he's reading his nonsense. He's on some horrible website, and that's where he's getting it all from.
These as part of your legal education today. You sat through 3 or 4 prelims. There's a hearing where it must be established that there's probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and probable cause that you did it. There was a misdemeanor offered to attempted resisting and obstructing a police officer that was opened through last Friday, I believe. Secretary. And you have confirmed that you wish to have a preliminary examination. And so here we are. Mr. O'Barrett, you may.
Yeah, he has some legal procedural questions that I don't feel I'm competent to answer. I said he could direct some of those questions to the court today.
Sir, I don't understand which jurisdiction you hold.
Oh, please.
What's the word for it?
This is like a slow developing crash. But for me, it's really cathartic. Judge Middleton has had a day, and he has no patience for this, unlike usual. He's still nice. But he politely just lets him have it the whole hearing.
You derive your authority over me. Which jurisdiction is the court charging me in?
Okay. You belong to the, I don't know if this is a dues-paying club of ignorant people that choose not to understand what the law is. You're under the jurisdiction of the state of Michigan and the county of St. Joseph. And I'm not going to engage in any further absurd discussions with you. I'll leave that for the circuit court if there's probable cause to bind this matter over. You're under the jurisdiction of 3B District Court, which is duly authorized by the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan.
Is that admiralty law, sir?
No, it's not. And admiralty law has to do with ships, and it belongs to this absurd block of information where people are grossly misinformed about how the legal system works.
Is there an acceptance bond, sir?
No.
What about a bid bond?
No.
No.
There's not. You posted a bond, a surety bond.
A bid bond is what gets filled out. And
I'm not
if
gonna
the
talk
defendant
about this.
does
stuff
not
with you.
close,
Stop.
settle, or pay,
Stop.
or just,
Stop. You posted your bond, a PR bond, you're charged with this felony offense. Prosecutor offered a misdemeanor, and put your phone down. You're
my
reading
notes are on it, sir.
You're reading some obscure,
Is this a tort claim, sir?
no, it's not a tort claim. You're charged with a crime, which just shows how clueless you are. So stop relying on stuff you read over the internet. I had some other poor guy in here the other day who was about to dumb himself into a conviction. You're about to dumb yourself into a felony conviction. So I don't know why people would choose to believe this absurd stuff that you're believing.
I'm just asking questions.
You're
Your Honor.
asking questions which are not really relevant. And they're based on a complete misconception about how the system works. Is this a tort case? No, you're charged with a felony resisting obstructing a police officer. We're about to have a preliminary examination. The prosecutor offered a misdemeanor charge and you respectfully declined it. You're entitled to plead not guilty. You're entitled to have a trial on the matter. You're entitled to have a lawyer. You're not entitled to ask me a bunch of time-wasting, irrelevant questions. Mr. Robert, you can call your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I call Chief there.
Good afternoon. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief? Right. I apologize in advance if I call you Trooper Thayer. You may have a seat.
Where are you employed?
Village Constantine Police Department,
And how long have you been employed there?
just over a year now.
Do you have other experience in law enforcement besides working as the chief of that police department?
I do.
And what was that?
The last position was a trooper with the Michigan State Police for 25 years.
All right. And so were you working in your new position on Saturday, July 2nd, 2022?
I was.
And can you explain what happened during that shift with the traffic stop you made involving the defendant?
Oh,
Yes, so shortly after 11 p.m., I
It's on
noticed the
display
vehicle traveling north on North Washington Street with no lights on. It turned right because of the street lights, but the headlights were not on. So I initiated a traffic stop and we ended up coming to a stop in the gas station parking lot of the BP on the north side of the river.
Who all was in that vehicle?
The driver was an Aryan Beal. And then the passenger, I did not have identification from, or the right rear passenger.
All right. And you said that traffic stop was at a BP station, and that's in Constantine, Michigan.
I'm sorry, it's not on BP anymore. It's actually Phillips 66
Okay.
now.
Okay. And so that's where the traffic stop was, in Constantine?
Yes,
And that's in St. Joseph County, Michigan?
correct.
And there were 3 people in the vehicle. Was one of them the defendant that you see here in the courtroom?
Yes.
And can you point him out and identify what he's wearing?
At the defendant's table with a gray t-shirt and shorts.
Your Honor, will you let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant?
Yes.
And where was he seated in the vehicle?
In the right front seat.
Can you explain to the court how that traffic stop proceeded then?
So after getting the driver's license, I went back to my patrol vehicle and ran the license number, the license plate number, and the driver's license information. And the vehicle is registered to Charles Maybe Longacre, who I was familiar with from maybe 18, 20 years ago. I had a very unique middle name, of course. And the way the system is set up, it auto runs the registered owner of the vehicle, which came back to a Charles Maybe McNulty.
And so that's the defendant that's here in the courtroom.
Correct.
And they have the same, it's the same person who changed his name?
That's what it appeared, that the last name had been changed. Again, the middle name was the same. I checked the date of birth, the driver's license number, the physical descriptors, every.
Oh, I missed that. He changed his last name. He stuck with the middle name maybe, but he changed his last name. That's funny.
Thing matched.
How did the traffic stop proceed from there?
I reapproached on the passenger side at this point to speak with Mr. McNulty because I had also discovered that there was a child support warrant, a civil child support warrant for him from May of 2022. And so I asked him to exit the vehicle.
How did he react to that?
He didn't say anything, but he originally handed me a piece of paper that I got the impression was from the court. I didn't look at it at that time.
All right. How did you go from there in trying to deal with this situation?
Well, eventually, after going back and forth several times with him about this piece of paper and wanting me to read it, I finally retrieved it and then handed it to a reserves officer that was riding with me. Again, didn't look at it because I wanted to stay focused on the inside of the vehicle and make sure that I wasn't going to be in any danger of what he might have in the vehicle that I didn't know about. And so we continued to discuss as discreetly as I could. I didn't want to just broadcast his information to the driver or the other passenger.
So you were trying not to let the other people in the vehicle know that there was a child support warrant out for the defendant's arrest?
Correct. I kind of feel that's a private matter we need to keep between ourselves.
And were you asking the defendant to step from the vehicle?
Yes.
And was he following that?
No, not at all. He didn't want anything to do with getting out.
What happened after that?
He eventually locked the door, yelled at me and told me I was going to have to come in and get him. I was going to have to get somebody else there. I needed to get my supervisor there. And then finally got to the point where I guess I don't remember the specifics of how the conversation went, but I disclosed that it's about the child support warrant.
And was he being threatening with you at that time about what he was going to do? Telling you that you're going to have to break the fucking window, that he's going to act in self-defense against you?
Yes.
That type of thing?
It was clear it was going to be a physical confrontation.
All right. What happened next?
Eventually, he opened or unlocked the door and began to open it. And because where I was standing between the car and very closely, just inches from a very tall curb, I had to step up over the curb because I feared if he were to step out, push me, I could easily break a leg pinching it between the car and the curb. So I stepped up over the curb as he stepped out, and then he closed the door and began to turn around to put his hands behind his back. So as I reached now, again, after having stepped up over the curb, I went to reach for him and he took off running.
And so had you been giving him clear commands that he was under arrest and that he had this active warrant and he was going to come in with you?
Yes, I had explained that the paperwork he had was for clearly a previous warrant, and this was dated after that, so it was evident to me that this was not the same warrant as the case he was presenting paperwork for.
So is it fair to say he kind of presented his hands or was moving in a way that it was clear he was getting ready to be arrested and then he took off?
It was brief, but he was putting his hands behind his back before he took off running.
What happened after that?
Well, he began yelling at some obscenities and laughing like the Joker as he ran away. And so I called out to him and said I wasn't chasing him for a civil warrant, and I'll just get a warrant for obstruction.
All right. So he was yelling obscenities back at you as he was taking off. Do you remember what those were?
I believe one particular comment was "fuck you, bitch."
Okay. And so you've testified kind of about this.
That always makes me laugh. Beyond just the swearing, it's the clinical retelling of it in the wrong tone, which is no other way to do it, but it's humorous to me.
Paper that he handed to you, and you looked at that afterwards.
Yes.
And that showed a previous warrant that he had for his arrest from earlier in the year.
Correct. It looked like through friend of the court on a child support warrant that the matter was settled. However, I couldn't tell from the paperwork what the result was, but in February of 2022.
And you said this new warrant was from May.
Correct.
So that was after that situation was already resolved.
Right.
Right. All right. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Bush?
Were you able to determine what court the warrant was issued?
St. Joseph County.
Was there a bond on that warrant? Do you remember?
There was, and specifically, no, I remember it was over $4,000.
Stop it, David.
What I'm a little confused on is I guess the time frame. When did you tell him it was child support, and when did he start trying to give you a piece of paper that apparently showed an old child support warrant had been discharged? I'm trying to get, what order did that happen?
Right, so as soon as I approached him is when he initially tried to hand me the piece of paper.
Before you even told him he was under arrest or there was a warrant?
Long before, yes. Again, I was trying to keep his private matters private.
I have no further
Poor Attorney Bush had nothing.
There.
Had nothing
No, I have
to
nothing.
For the,
No, Your Honor.
all right. Mr. Bush?
That's what Mr. Chairman.
Ms. O'Keefe, the witness steps down, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chief Taylor, you can step down. Mr. McNulty, I told you, and you watched several of these, so you're a little well informed. This is a hearing just for probable cause. Now we're going to hear argument regarding that, Mr. O'Bear.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant is charged with one count of resisting and obstructing. The testimony from Chief Thayer was that there was a traffic stop that took place in St. Joseph County. He identified the defendant as being one of the people in the vehicle during that traffic stop. He gave him commands relating to a warrant that he had for child support. The defendant did not follow those commands and eventually acted like he was going to allow himself to be arrested and then took off while yelling obscenities back at the officer. I believe that proves the elements that he did obstruct or oppose or endanger Dan Thayer in order to ask the case to be bound over to circuit court.
Thank you. Mr. Bush?
I would ask the court to review the testimony in light of the standards of the state of Michigan and dismiss the charges.
Mr. McNulty, I didn't put two and two together. You and I go back a long time when you
Yes,
were
sir.
Charles Longacre. You remember Judge McManus. That's how far back it goes, at 2000s or so. I just got along with you fine.
Yes, sir.
But I don't like watching this because of your misinformation. You're going to end up being convicted of a felony, probably. But running away from the police officers on a civil warrant is sufficient probable cause for resisting and obstructing a police officer. The matter is going to be bound over to circuit court. Judge Stutzman won't be very favorable to these farcical defenses. I'm sorry to see it go this way. You're polite and respectful, you're just got bad information. Anyway, you need to show up for everything, which you've done. You've been here, you've been respectful, you haven't missed anything. So the matter will be bound over to the circuit court. Your bond was $4,000 PR, which you posted. So you're free to go. This matter will be set for a status conference in the circuit court. And stay in contact with your lawyer. Are you still in Constantine?
Yes, sir. I just want to see my daughter, man. I mean,
Well,
I
you
gotta be
told
out
me
for her.
that. And you're the third guy to tell me that today. I don't do support and visitation. This ain't helping your cause any, I'll tell you that.
It's
No, Stutzman doesn't have a channel. He won't air his stuff. He used to air his cases, but I do think it's funny. He's like, okay, I got to bind you over. So you're going over to in front of Judge Stutzman, but it's like, I know him, it's a small town. I know the other judges. He's not going to buy your sovereign citizen stuff. Trust me on this.
It's just, I'm getting further and further into the system, sir. It started out, I missed the very first main trial date to my daughter. I thought it was on Friday. It was on a Wednesday. Where was I? At work. I didn't realize it. Everybody called me and said, what's going on? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, hey, you missed your court date. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had my kid more than her. I had a calendar. The courts didn't even look at it.
Disagree with anything you say, but I don't have any jurisdiction over that. And all I have is this. I understand why you're so frustrated, but you're getting bad information. But you're good to go, and I don't even know what to tell you about that battle. I know you love your daughter more than anything else, but I don't have the jurisdiction to give you what you want. So you're free to go. I'm going to go print out a binder. Or we're going to print one from.
This is so good. We have a nice exchange coming up here.
I have 2 bench warrant arraignments I have to do. I'll see if I can get Mr. Stigler. I guess I'll see where Mark is.
So when did he change his name? I guess I didn't know there was a name change.
I don't know, some time ago, but he's entitled to call himself what he wanted. But he and I both knew each other when we were younger. He's always been respectful to me, but.
Your Honor?
Yes?
Here we go.
Do these things that I asked for even exist?
No, mostly no.
So there's no way to get any information on them since they don't exist?
You mean whether it's admiralty or that sort of stuff?
No, the bonds that I was asking for.
No, they don't.
Performance bonds and.
No, you have a PR bond. This isn't an admiralty case. It's a criminal case. It's not a tort.
So is it a contract case?
No.
That's my favorite. So is the contract. No, it's a freaking criminal case. He told you. You already knew it ahead of time. And he tries tort, and the only other thing he can come up with is contract. Judge Middleton is at the end of his rope. Oh, it's so good.
No, you're getting bad info. All right. Try some of that stuff with Judge Stutzman, see what he thinks about it. It won't go very far. So try to.
I don't know how I offended
You didn't
anybody
you
with
offended
asking questions because I'm trying to learn law because
You're
I'm new at this.
yes, and you're working against your own best interest. That's why I'm miffed. You, as I said, you dumbed yourself from a misdemeanor into a felony. So I wish I don't want. We're not on the record. I don't want to say any more. But good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. I just thought it was too good. Maybe I've just seen too much of Judge Middleton. I've seen him just have enough. We kicked off the day with a guy who walked out. He was in custody, but on Zoom, and he was walking out of the hearing, and then he wouldn't get in frame to conduct the hearing or answer anything. That's how his day kicked off. And then this is towards the end of the day. He gets the sovereign citizen in here. Good old call me maybe. Unfortunately, it's a fraudery case. Unfortunately, he's going in front of Judge Stutzman. I would love to get that because we're one video away from having a call me maybe playlist. But we won't get it. We won't get it in front of Stutzman. I'm sure it'd be fun too. I would like to get video out of that room, but that's not what they do. That's not what they do over there. So, I just thought it was fun. I see in the chat you guys are asking me about the New Mexico versus Cummings. I don't know. I've been in a tunnel, so I see. It looks like it's out for verdict, and I haven't seen it yet. So I will now try to figure out what's going on with that. But I will see you all soon. Thanks for coming out.